Okay, thank you. As you now know, my name is Cara Long. I am with the Center for Women in Government and Civil Society with the Rockefeller College of Public Affairs and Policy. It's part of the University at Albany. And this presentation is in collaboration with the Community Foundation for the Greater Capital Region. What we're going to talk about today is economic development in our region, and where women are and where women aren't within those efforts. There, I think, is a temptation culturally to believe that equity has been achieved and we can all just sort of celebrate and go home. Unfortunately, that is not the case, and we're going to explore that a little further. I will define the region for you. It's an 8-county region. When we say capital region, it is Columbia, green, Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, Schenectady, Warren, and Washington counties. Our population in those 8 counties is just a little over 1 million. It's 1.1 million. And the breakdown in terms of female-male is 51% women, 49% male. In New York State, it's 52% women, 48% male, so not too different. And I have lots more from a university, so I have lots more fun statistics and stuff for you. But we'll try and unpack it and make it very interesting because it's a very relevant and important issue, okay? So let's start by defining economic development. Lots of definitions out there, all use kind of the same terms and words, so I picked the one that I like the best. You get to do that when you're designing the talk. So the focus of economic development should be on supporting innovation, increasing prosperity for American businesses, and ensuring that American workers have the skills to remain the most productive workforce in the world, okay? And some of the components of this, you're gonna see the word innovation a lot. It's our word of the day. You can refrain from screaming really loud when you hear it, if anyone was a Pee Wee Herman fan. Innovation is the only sustainable source of regional prosperity. Talent is the key in fostering innovation, so we're talking about human capital, human beings, okay? Building a cultural environment that supports entrepreneurial activity is critical. To build an innovation region requires more collaboration than ever. We've got to work together to assure our mutual success, right? So culturally vital communities will be accessible, affordable, applauded, diverse, distinctive, and dynamic, right? They're the winners, and that's what we all aspire to be. Let's talk a little bit more about innovation. Merriam-Webster defines innovation as the introduction of something new, a new idea, method, or device. It's novelty, okay? Innovation is, in the context of economic development, inextricably linked to high tech. And we're going to talk a little bit more about high tech. So there is a tool, and it's online. You can Google it. It's called the Innovation Index. It was sponsored by the U.S. Economic Development Administration. It compares a region or a county or even a state of your choosing with the U.S. so that you can assess your innovation capacity. So I did this for our 8-county region. There are 5 components. You can see how they're weighted. Human capital, again, our assets, our talent pool. Economic dynamics at 30%, productivity and employment, the weight is 30%. Economic well-being is 10%, and then they give you a state context for reference only. We're going to go into these in case you're worried. Our lowest score was in human capital, and that was at 63.8%. So we're not doing great in that talent area. We're doing well in economic well-being, but we will discuss a particular aspect of that. We got a 71.3 in our state context. So overall, again, 78.7, that's not great. That's what, a C plus if I go back to my school grading system? All right, human capital, what is it? Characteristics that describe the ability of a population and a labor force to what? To innovate. What are we going to look at within that? And where are we looking at women's gains and where women are? And educational attainment and the high-tech employment share. If you're paying attention, to topical issues of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, you know a little bit about our high-tech workforce and the fact that we don't really have enough workers. When we're talking about high-tech, we're talking about information technology, IT, mathematics, architecture and engineering. We're talking about healthcare and medical sciences, which is not included in STEM. That is the difference. we're talking about post-secondary education, and we're talking about science generally. That comprises the high-tech workforce. And we're going to go into those more. Our region, on the whole, we're actually a very educated region, okay? 30% of the adults in our region have a bachelor's degree. That's higher than the national average, pretty significantly. 29.8% of adults do have some college or an associate's degree. This number is very important. These jobs that occur at that level are commonly referred to as middle skill jobs. They're technician level jobs. They make up the largest share of jobs in the New York State economy. So jobs that require a 2-year degree, particularly within high tech, right? That's where the jobs are. They're at this technician level. Can you guess where women aren't? They're not in the high-tech middle skill workforce. We're talking about percentages for occupations that are sometimes as low as 3%. And when we talk about that for women of color, it's even worse. There are lots of zeros within particular occupations for women of color. So, right, compounded by the fact that firms in our region actually require a skilled and specialized high-tech workforce. It's 10.5% share of our total employment, 2 percentage points higher than the national average. So that's a problem. Economic dynamics. Here, it's local resources available to regional entrepreneurs and businesses. Those things encourage innovation close to home, right? They help make our economy more robust. We're going to talk about establishment sizes here. The number of small establishments and large establishments is lower overall in our region than in the US. We're going to talk about where women are in terms of being business owners in this region and maybe look at why some of this is lower, okay? Productivity and employment, job growth. Our job growth to population ratio is 1.95, national average is 0.69. The jobs are here, but the workers aren't, okay? And one of the things, yes, we do want people to move to our region. More people makes it more robust, more vital, new perspectives, new ideas, all good stuff. But we also want to be sure that we're taking advantage of our existing assets and that people here are participating in economic development and opportunity. And if women aren't participating, then that's not happening. Economic well-being. We scored very well here, but we are going to look at the poverty rate. Women are disproportionately affected by poverty. There is also, within race, there's disproportionate, we're being disproportionately affected, so we're going to look at that. The state context, this is about money available to, and R&D money, okay, research and development. We're looking at science and engineering graduates from all institutions. Again, women are not earning as many STEM degrees as are men, even though women are earning lots of degrees and are very educated and have made many gains. In this area, we've been stagnant since 2000. There hasn't been growth. We're not making gains there. So human capital, the New York State workforce. I am going to sneak over here and get my water. Of women 16 and up, 44% are employed, 49% of men. This is lower than the national average. This could be the data source, but the national average for women is about 58%. So that may bear some looking into, which I didn't do for this. Now we're going to look at women in the high-tech workforce, okay? So in IT and mathematics, women make up 27% of that workforce. That number's a little high because accounting is counted within that, and women have achieved parity within accounting. So, but when we're looking at things like computer programming, numbers are more like 20%. And then again, for women of color, they're very, very low. Healthcare and medical sciences, 78%. That's a huge number. A lot of this is accounted for in health support occupations like nursing, where women are actually 95% of the workforce. So we need more men in nursing there. If we were to hold out the support occupations, those middle skill jobs, we'd be more at like 50-50. Women have made enormous gains in healthcare and medical science. Engineering and architecture, we're at an abysmal 15%. Abysmal is the only word for that. Sciences, 48%. Women have made tremendous gains in life and natural sciences. Post-secondary education. I know you can read it, but 47%, but that doesn't tell us, where women are within the academy. So if we're talking about women as engineering professors, it's going to be more consistent with that 15%, right? So role models aren't there, the women aren't there. Educational attainment, like I said, women have made huge strides, just uniformly huge strides in pursuing education. 23.4%, which is the largest percent of women in New York State, have a bachelor's degree. It's not that we're not educated, it's barriers that still exist within high-tech education or STEM education. Here we go, we're gonna see the percentage of women-owned businesses per county. Again, I'm gonna remind you that women are 51% of our regional population. We're not doing any better than low 30s, high 20s. Pretty much across, this is not, the difference between 27 and 32 or 25 and 32 is not so great. But again, with women of color, when I looked at minority-owned businesses, and I couldn't look by gender, but we're talking single digits here, 7%, 9%, 5%. So it's a little bit, women of color are faring a little bit worse in business ownership in our region. Economic well-being, poverty. Even though we scored very well, the average poverty rate for women in New York State is 17.4%. It's 14.5% for men, okay? And our region, Greene County, has the highest at 16. Saratoga County, the lowest at 7.1, with all others falling in that 10 to 14% range. And that's using the standard poverty measure, which, as a human being, I take exception with, but we're still gonna use it. So poverty rates in our region vary very widely by race. In the metropolitan areas that comprise our region, the poverty rate among whites is 9%, well, 28.9% for blacks. Now, not only is that shameful and evidence of existing inequality, that's a missed opportunity in terms of economic development. If you're not engaging your population, you're missing opportunity. STEM educational attainment of women. There it is, right? There are those low numbers at each level, high school, associates. We don't break 34% ever. And regardless, men are more likely to work in STEM regardless of what their degree is, either way. And this, what is affected by what is known as a leaky pipeline, women leave STEM at lots of junctures. Whether they're sort of conditioned out of the whole math is hard thing, women tend to drop out of STEM. What is New York State doing in terms of economic development? Well, it's doing quite a lot. In 2011, Governor Cuomo created 10 regional councils. Our region is defined through these regional councils. And they were asked to develop long-term plans for economic growth. And our region did that. And the goals are they want to leverage and collaborate, open new doors, prepare for tomorrow, build a superhighway, bring cities to life, all this good stuff, all good stuff for people in our region. And some of the strategies from the plan, they want to encourage learning opportunities in STEM. That's great, that's going to build the high-tech workforce, absolutely. Fund startup and early stage companies through the collective efforts of regional business incubators, chambers of commerce, regional economic growth organizations. Facilitate internship. This is all good stuff. Facilitate internship employment experiences, coalesce schools and businesses to help all students realize their potential. And what I'm going to say here is we have to be very intentional with recruiting and engaging women, okay? If the problem is that you don't have enough high-tech workers at the middle skill level, the solution is women, okay? They're not there. So how do you solve that problem? You engage women. If the problem is that we don't have enough innovator or entrepreneurs in our region, enough businesses, women don't own enough businesses. The solution is women, engaging women. If the problem is that you don't have enough science and engineering graduates to drive R&D, the solution is women, because they're not there. So every single plan needs to think about including women, and it needs to be very intentional. Women are not a problem to be solved. They are a resource, not to be an afterthought. They are to be at the table, doing the planning, included, okay? That is going to help. Ways you can get involved. First thing that is not on the list, you can support the Women's Equality Agenda. There's a petition online. If you don't know about the Women's Equality Agenda, please look it up. Women's groups are, again, organizing for collective action to get that equality agenda passed. You can attend Capital Region Economic Development Council meetings. They're open. You can go. You can sit in the work groups. They have workforce groups. They have opportunity groups. Their meeting schedule is online, and I would suggest, not enough people engage in these efforts, and one of the ways that we can make efforts stronger and make sure that all people in our region are participating is that we participate in the meetings, and we support existing programs and initiatives. The Chamber runs a boot camp, an entrepreneur's boot camp that's aimed at women and people of color. And there's a program at the Albany Library that helps girls with programming. So support regional and local initiatives so that they can be expanded. Become familiar with research concerning women and economic development issues. That's, I had to put that on there. Read the research. It's full of best practices. One of the problems is research doesn't move into practice. Become familiar with it. Lots of great stuff that would help us solve all kinds of problems. Ask questions. If a new policy or program or project is introduced, ask about women's inclusion, okay? Too often, it's not getting asked and it becomes an afterthought. Women are not an afterthought. Donate. The staff at the Community Foundation, they can act as philanthropic advisors. If this issue is important to you, you can donate to support it. If women's education in STEM is important to you, if women's economic well-being is important to you, please consider donating. And you can volunteer. Everybody needs volunteers. The Stakeholders Institute is a great regional resource. The link is there. They run a whole volunteer engagement component, and I would suggest you check it out. Everybody loves their volunteers, loves their volunteers, so please volunteer. Just a little bit more about us, our dual missions there. I only have about a minute, so I'm going to take this time to thank you for listening to me. And thank the organizers for putting this together and allowing me the opportunity to speak about this issue. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And there's links to our website, so please visit us. Thank you.